All right, so core value, honesty. This is a little bit tricky. So as a general rule, it's good to be honest, always. Because being honest, being transparent builds trust. If I was a CEO of the organization, and let's say you're a part of my organization, and if I'm hiding things intentionally, and then 2 years later you find out that all along I've been hiding that information intentionally, would you still trust me? Would you still like to be involved in the organizations that I'm leading? I would say probably not. You may say, yeah, it's just work and work is like this all the time. But we gravitate toward following leaders and people that are honest, that are transparent, that people who are watching each other's back, right? We like to be part of that organizations. Although a lot of business organizations, again, the goal is to increase profit, increase efficiency. So, being honesty sometimes gets compromised, and sometimes people just live with the fact that, you know what, it's okay, work is work, I'm just gonna do it and it's okay, right? But, wouldn't it be lucky if you're part of the organization where they try to be transparent, they try to be honest, they don't intentionally take advantage of the employees, and they try to do good things? Wouldn't you consider yourself to be lucky to be part of that organization? Or if you're an executive or entrepreneur, wouldn't it be great to start organizations or a team to build that culture of high trust, honesty, and transparency? Okay, so having said that, this highly depends on the company culture. If you're involved in a company with, I would say, lower standards of honesty, and you're trying to be very, very honest, too honest, that can go against your company. Well, in my mind, if you had the choice, it's better just not to join a company where your core values and the company core values are too different from each other, because you're going to find that you need to compromise on your core values, and you may find that very disheartening. So this is why interview process is also important, because you're also finding out, hey, what is important in your company, right? You can ask, what are the most important core values? Okay. So, but it's easier said than done, right? You may join a company and later find out that, oh, this is different than how the company was portrayed to be. But anyway, as a general rule of thumb when it comes to honesty, of course, you try to find a company that meshes with the core value that you have. And sometimes it's good to not deviate too much from the core values of the company, especially if you want to stay at the company for a long time. Okay. But let's say you belong to a company where transparency is important, honesty is important. You don't want to intentionally hide information. But in business, remember this: do not be too naive and feel that your supervisor or the CEO or the executive will share everything they know. They can't. They don't have the time. And do you really want to be distracted and say, hey, let me get 30 hours of your time this week and tell you everything I know about the company? You don't have the time. You're busy, everyone's busy. Sometimes the supervisor or the manager or the colleague just didn't share some of the information because it wasn't asked, or because they didn't think it was important. Honestly, they weren't trying to hide information. That's completely okay, right? Supervisor doesn't have to go and say, oh, let me find out all the things that you should know about. And, oh, do you know about A? Do you know about B? Do you know about C? They're not responsible for doing that. Yet, some of the new employees, especially those who are very idealistic, feel that supervisors and managers and executives have the responsibility to share everything. They don't. This is work. This is professional. We don't have 120 hours a week to work. We have got very small amount of time with very specific goals and agendas, for the organizations, for the team. It's hard. Okay. So as a general rule, we try to be honest when asked. Okay. When asked questions, okay, be honest. If you're not asked, you don't have to divulge information. right? So information that do not need to be shared, do not voluntarily share with the world. There's no need, right? Everyone's busy. There's so much noises going on, right? So, this could be a little bit tricky. So I think, we'll go through some of the scenarios, and maybe by going some of the scenarios, you will learn a little bit more about my perspectives on this core value of honesty and how it could be applied. But you also, remember, could be too honest on unnecessary things and actually hurt the organization, your team, or your relationship. And the boundary may be a little bit fine, but again, we'll go through some of these scenarios.